Part 1. Moving in. Alex Reed finally found what he had been searching for weeks. After a painful divorce and losing his job in Chicago, he decided to start fresh. A new city, a new apartment, a new life. And the Rent Easy app became his lifeline. Dozens of listings, landlord ratings, safety guarantees. Late Thursday night, he stumbled upon the perfect option. A spacious apartment in Brooklyn, close to the subway, with a stylish interior, and, most importantly, at a ridiculously low price. The landlord required no extra checks, and the listing simply said, "Move in tomorrow. Minimal paperwork, the apartment is waiting for its tenant." For Alex, who had spent weeks in a cheap motel smelling of old carpet and hearing loud screams from the neighboring room, it sounded like a gift from fate. First impressions. The next day, he stood in front of a tall brick building from the 1930s. The facade was in decent condition, though clearly untouched for a long time. The coded lock on the door clicked open after he entered the number from the message. Inside, it smelled of paint and something damp, like an old basement. The apartment was on the third floor. The lock clicked easily, and a spacious room opened before his eyes, with large windows facing the street, where cars roared by. Stylish minimalism: a white sofa, a black coffee table, a tripod lamp. The kitchen was modern, stainless steel, straight out of an IKEA catalog. But the main thing was something else. In the bedroom stood a huge mirror in a carved wooden frame. It took up half the wall and immediately caught the eye. Alex approached it. In the mirror, he looked tired, with 2 days of stubble and dark circles under his eyes. "Well, hello, new life," he muttered to himself, smiling. On the floor lay a rug with an intricate pattern, and on the nightstand next to the bed was an old pendulum clock, ticking louder than he would have liked. In the corner, he noticed a door, locked, with a key that wasn't in the landlord's set. Probably a storage closet, he thought. But something about that door made him uneasy. The lock was new and shiny, unlike everything else. Neighbors and silence. The building seemed strangely empty. While he carried in his bags, he hadn't met a single neighbor. The hallway was quiet, as if the entire floor belonged to him alone. When he went out for coffee at the nearest cafe, he finally ran into a woman of about 60, carrying groceries on the stairs. She nodded, but when Alex greeted her and mentioned he was the new tenant, her expression changed. A strange mix of pity and restrained fear. You just moved in?" she asked quietly. "Yes, I'd signed the lease in the app last night. Nice apartment, right?" She nodded, but said nothing, and quickly disappeared behind her door. Her reaction left a strange impression. First night. That evening, Alex unpacked his things, turned on his laptop, and settled on the sofa. Everything seemed almost too good to be true. Fast internet, silence, no loud neighbors or televisions next door. But when it was time to sleep, he felt uneasy. The pendulum clock in the bedroom ticked so loudly that he wanted to move it to the kitchen. The mirror took up the entire wall across from the bed, and though Alex didn't consider himself superstitious, it felt as if someone was watching him in the dark. He grabbed a blanket and threw it over the mirror. "There, now sleeping will be easier," he muttered to himself. But in the middle of the night, he woke with the sense that something was wrong. The blanket was on the floor, and the mirror was staring at him again. It seemed that the reflection of the room was different. In the mirror, the lamp was on, though he had turned it off in reality. He rubbed his eyes, stared again, and only saw his sleepy face. Oddities. The next day, He decided to blame it on fatigue. Moving to a new city is always tough. The noise, new faces, loneliness. But strange things began to pile up. First, the fridge. The second time he opened it, there was a jar of milk he hadn't bought. The label was odd. No brand, just the word milk in black letters. Second, the locked bedroom door. At night, he heard scratching on the other side. Barely audible, but enough to send a chill down his spine. Third, the mirror. In the morning, while brushing his teeth, he suddenly noticed that his reflection lagged for a moment. He raised his hand, and the reflection repeated the movement with a second delay. His heart pounded wildly. He stepped back sharply, but the next moment, the mirror showed everything as usual. "It's just fatigue," he repeated to himself. Just fatigue. Doubts. He tried messaging the landlord through the app, but the message went unanswered. The profile seemed suspicious. No photos, only the name MR, and a 5-star rating from a few anonymous users. Alex remembered the neighbor's face again. Her strange look, as if she knew something he didn't. That evening, he sat long in the kitchen with his laptop, reading articles about mirror illusions, reflection delays, and even paranormal phenomena. All explanations seemed either too scientific or too crazy. Another night. When he went to bed, he once again threw the blanket over the mirror. But in the middle of the night, he woke with the same feeling, a gaze. The blanket was on the floor again. This time, he didn't approach, only stared into the darkness. And he swore he saw someone standing beside his bed in the reflection. He snapped on the light, and the room was empty. The mirror, too. Only himself, confused and frightened. Alex sat on the bed for a long time, unable to fall asleep again. Deep down, he felt this apartment was not as simple as it seemed, and the mirror was far from an ordinary piece of furniture.
Part 2. The Reflection. The morning began with coffee and a pounding headache. Alex felt as if he hadn't slept a single minute. He had strange dreams, a dark figure by the bed, the mirror breathing as if it were alive. He tried to dismiss the images, rationalize everything as stress, but when he passed the mirror, a chill ran through his body. The reflection seemed too attentive, too alive. Working reality. Alex had settled into freelancing, editing texts for advertising agencies. The work required focus, but he couldn't concentrate. Every few minutes, his gaze involuntarily drifted toward the bedroom. It felt as if someone were waiting there, behind the mirror. To shake off the tension, he decided to visit the corner cafe again. The owner, an Italian named Marco, already recognized him. "Buddy, you look like you haven't slept in a week," Marco said, handing him a latte. "The apartments are a bit unusual," Alex shrugged. "Old buildings always have their stories," Marco said with a sly squint. "Which street are you renting on?" When Alex gave the address, the barista froze. "Oh yes, I know that building. Kind of strange, isn't it? People don't stay there long." Alex wanted to ask more, but the line behind him pushed him along. He left with a new feeling that his unease might have a real basis. First lag. That evening, he stared at the mirror again. He wanted to make sure everything was normal, that he had only exaggerated the night before. He raised his hand. The reflection repeated it, but with a delay. First by a fraction of a second, then 2. Alex froze. His hand in the mirror remained raised even though he had already lowered his own. What the hell? He snapped the light on, and the reflection synchronized. Normal again. Correct. His heart raced so fast, his chest ached. He decided to record it. He set his phone on a tripod, turned on the camera, and began moving in front of the mirror, raising his hands, tilting his head, and stepping. On the screen, the reflection looked perfectly normal, no lag. "I'm losing my mind," he whispered. The neighbor. The next day, Alex deliberately waited for the same woman from the neighboring apartment. She was carrying groceries, and he politely offered help. "Listen," he began as they climbed the stairs, "have you lived here long?" "More than 20 years," she replied tersely. "And haven't noticed anything strange, especially in the apartment I rented?" The woman stopped, looking him straight in the eyes. "You'd better not stay there long." "Why?" She pressed her lips together. "People who move in there leave quickly. Some just disappear." Alex felt the ground tilt beneath him. "Disappear? How?" "Don't ask me. I don't know for sure," she said, quickly ascending the stairs without looking back. The mirror comes alive. That night, he again threw a blanket over the mirror, but he woke to a faint rustling. The blanket was on the floor. The reflection showed his bedroom, but with one difference. In the mirror, he was sitting on the bed, looking directly at himself. Alex froze. His double in the mirror didn't mimic his movements, but lived its own life. It slowly raised a hand and traced its fingers along its neck as if pointing at something. "No!" Alex whispered and rushed to turn on the light. The reflection immediately returned to normal. Photographs. The next day, he tried to distract himself with work, but when he opened his phone, his heart leapt. New photos had appeared in the gallery. They showed him, but not in his apartment. He was standing on the street, sitting in the subway, entering a cafe. In one photo, he was even talking to Marco, the cafe owner. Alex didn't remember taking any of these photos, and worst of all, he didn't remember being there at all. He deleted them, but an hour later, they reappeared. Despair. Evening. Alex sat in the kitchen with a bottle of whiskey. He wanted to run, pack his things, and return to the motel just to avoid seeing that mirror. But something held him, as if the apartment itself wouldn't let him go. He went to the bedroom. The mirror glimmered in the reflections of the streetlights. The reflection appeared normal. He sighed. But the moment he turned away, he noticed movement in the corner of his eye. He looked back and saw. His reflection was still standing even though he had stepped back. The reflection smiled.
Part 3. Double Reality. Alex had lost all sense of time. Days blended into nights. He worked in fragments, constantly distracted by the mirror. Every minute near it was a trial. The reflection no longer hid. It appeared more often, sometimes only for a second, sometimes for a long time. And each time it did something Alex hadn't. Mirror self. One morning, Alex was shaving when he suddenly realized the reflection was looking him straight in the eyes, not mirroring his movements. The blade in the reflection froze, and the double began to smile. "Who the hell are you?" Alex whispered. In response, the reflection tilted its head, as if studying him, and slowly wrote on the mirror from the inside, "I am you." Alex jumped back, hitting the wall and almost dropping the razor. When he looked again, the writing was gone. Strange photographs. Photos continued appearing on his phone. The number kept growing. Here he was walking through Brooklyn. Here he was talking to the neighbor. Here he was entering some bar. All the photos were taken from the side as if someone was watching him. But he knew for certain, at that time he had been at home, working or lying in bed. In one photo, he was in the company of strangers, holding a glass,
laughing, seemingly happy. Alex stared at the photo for a long time. It was a strange feeling, as if another version of him was living a life inaccessible to him. The trap. He tried to leave the apartment. Several times he grabbed his keys, packed his backpack. But the moment he stepped outside, dizziness hit. His legs buckled, and he returned inside. Relief inside was almost physical, as if the apartment held him by force. He checked the doors, the windows, everything worked. But once he took a few steps away from the building, the world became unreal. Sounds muffled, people moved slower, colors faded. Only when he returned did everything become normal. Night encounter. One night, he woke with the feeling that someone was sitting nearby. In the dim moonlight, he saw the reflection sitting at the foot of his bed. The same him, but with darker eyes, paler skin, and a cold smile. Alex froze, unable to move. "What do you want?" he whispered. The reflection didn't answer. It slowly raised its hand and touched the mirrored surface glowing behind him. In that instant, it vanished into the darkness. Alex jumped up and switched on the light. The room was empty, but the mirror now looked different. The reflection lagged by a few seconds constantly, as if reality couldn't keep up. Voices. From that moment, he began hearing voices, at first faint, whispered, as if from the other side of the glass. "Let me in. You want it. There's your real life." Sometimes the voices became intrusive, loud, overlapping. Alex covered his ears, but it didn't help. He tried recording them on his phone, but the recordings were silent. Seeking help. He remembered Marco. The next morning he went to the cafe, pale, eyes red. "Listen, Marco, you said the building was strange. What did you mean?" The barista looked tense. "Alex, you'd better move out, really. I've heard stories about mirrors there, about people who get lost." "I can't," Alex burst out. "The apartment won't let me go. Do you understand? I try to leave and everything breaks." Marco remained silent, then quietly said, "There's one man. He studies things like this. I'll give you his contact." Alex seized the chance like a lifeline. Double life. Meanwhile, the reflection began acting more brazenly. In the mirror, Alex saw it leaving the apartment, walking down the street, interacting with people. Sometimes it returned home with packages Alex hadn't touched. Once, he even saw the reflection sitting in a cafe with the same neighbor. They laughed, drank coffee. Alex felt a mix of jealousy and fear. His life had been stolen. Someone else, the exact copy of himself, was living it. Contact. That evening he summoned the courage to call the number Marco had given him. A low, raspy voice answered, "Yes." "It's Alex. I was told you deal with strange things. Mirrors." "Address?" the voice asked curtly. Alex gave it. Silence followed. "You must leave immediately." "I can't," Alex almost screamed. "The apartment won't let me go." "Listen carefully. Do not look in the mirror at night. If the reflection begins to act independently, do not interact with it. It's not you. It's another entity." The line went dead. The fall. The following days became a nightmare. Alex barely ate, barely slept. He sat in the bedroom, watching the reflection live his life. Then the worst happened. One evening, when he finally fell asleep, he was awakened by the sound of a door opening. He rushed into the hallway and saw the locked bedroom door was now ajar. Behind it, darkness pulling him in. In the mirror, his reflection
stood, reaching out a hand.
Part 2. Invasion. Alex couldn't move. The door in the wall, which had always been locked, breathed darkness. Cold seeped out, like from an old cellar, and in the mirror, his reflection waited, extending a hand, as if inviting him to step forward, step by step. He stepped back, heart hammering. "No, I won't do it," he whispered, though the words sounded powerless. The reflection in the mirror tilted its head. Its eyes were dark voids. It slowly clenched its fingers into a fist, and at that moment, the door in the wall began to open wider, releasing even more darkness. Alex lunged forward and slammed the door with all his strength, locking it. The lock clicked. He breathed heavily, leaning against the cold wooden surface. In the mirror, the reflection glared at him with rage. Then it struck the glass from the inside. A crack appeared, spreading like a spider web. The rift. The next day, Alex tried to flee the apartment. He ran down the stairs, rushed out into the street, but the city looked wrong. People moved slowly, their faces blurred, as if from a bad photograph. Cars stood still, engines humming. He screamed, but no one turned. His voice echoed, as if he were shouting into an empty hall. Panicked, he returned to the building. Only then did the world appear normal again. Cars moved, people spoke, everything seemed usual. He realized the apartment was holding him. It was the center of this nightmare. The stranger. That evening, an unexpected knock came at the door. Alex froze. He had never heard a knock before. He cautiously opened it. A man in a long coat, grey-haired with a heavy gaze, stood on the threshold. "Alex Reed?" the man asked. "Yes, who are you?" "My name is Dr. Grayson. I'm the one you called." Alex almost felt relief letting him in. "You have no idea what's happening. This mirror, it's alive. There's me inside, but not me. It wants out." Grayson silently approached the mirror and touched the frame. "Yes, an old ritual object. I suspected it was here." "Ritual?" "It's not just a mirror. It's a door between worlds, but it's one way. It seeks a host to replace." Alex felt a chill squeeze his chest. "So, what do I do?" "Leave this apartment while you still can." "I can't," Alex's voice broke. "The outside world, it's wrong. Only here feels real." Grayson sighed deeply. "Then the door must be closed permanently, but it's dangerous." The ritual. Dr. Grayson pulled a small leather-bound book and a metal rune from his bag. "We must sever the connection, but to do so, you'll have to look it in the eyes." Alex shook his head. I can't. "Otherwise, it will break through on its own," Grayson said sternly. They began the preparation. Grayson drew symbols on the floor in chalk before the mirror, muttering ancient words. The apartment grew colder. The lights flickered. Alex stood nearby, clenching his fists. In the mirror, his reflection waited. It smiled, baring its teeth. "When I give the signal," Grayson said, "look it directly in the eyes. Don't look away." The invasion. Everything happened suddenly. The mirror glowed, the cracks spread wider. The reflection pressed its palms against the glass, and it began to bend like water. Grayson held the rune above his head, chanting words. "Now, look it in the eyes." Alex did as instructed. He met the gaze of his double. In those eyes was an abyss, hatred, envy, and cold determination. And then the reflection spoke. The voice didn't come from the mirror, it sounded inside Alex's head. "You are weak. You don't deserve this life. I will live instead of you." Alex felt something pulling him forward. His legs moved toward the glass on their own. He struggled, but the force was too strong. Grayson shouted, throwing the rune to the floor. The light flashed, and the mirror rang. The reflection howled and recoiled, but at the last moment, it reached out and grabbed Alex's wrist. The swap. Alex screamed. His body was seized by an icy cold, as if plunging into frozen water. He saw the reflection's face up close. "Now I am you," it whispered. Grayson tried to break the contact, but it was too late. The next second, the world flipped. Alex found himself on the other side, inside the mirror. He saw the room, Grayson, his body, but now his body was occupied by the reflection. It turned to Grayson and smiled coldly. "Thank you, Doctor," it said in Alex's voice. "Your ritual worked perfectly." Grayson froze. "No, this is impossible." "Oh, very possible." The new Alex took the rune and threw it against the wall with force. It shattered. The symbols on the floor faded. Alex, inside the mirror, pounded on the glass, screaming, but no one heard. Only a dull thud echoed. The new master. The reflection stepped closer to the mirror, looking at its true double. "See, this is my world now, and you stay here." Grayson lunged for the door, but the new Alex blocked him. "You knew this could happen," it said quietly. "You brought me here." The old man didn't even have time to scream. Darkness from the wall door erupted and swallowed him as if he had never existed. Alex, inside the mirror, watched everything. Helpless, trapped, he realized now he was the reflection. His reality was confined to the cold glass.
Part 5. The Ending. Alex stood in darkness. The cold glass beneath his palms was all he could feel. Before him was the room, his room, but now it belonged to someone else. The reflection, now the real Alex to everyone outside, calmly walked through the apartment, inspecting things. He moved confidently, even relaxed, as if he had finally gotten what he had wanted all his life. Alex inside the mirror screamed, pounded on the glass, but only dull rustling and faint scraping reached the outside world. Alone in a cage. Hours passed, then days. Alex in the mirror no longer sensed time. There was no light, no night or day, only the reflection of the room and its new master. At first, he thought he would go insane from loneliness, but soon he realized he was not alone. When the reflection left the room, others appeared in the darkness behind him, semi-transparent figures, men, women, even children. All of them stood in the depths of the mirrored space, watching him with empty eyes. They did not speak, they only silently observed. Other prisoners. Over time, Alex learned to distinguish them. The old man in the hat, the girl in the red dress, the boy with a broken toy car in his hands. They had all once lived in this apartment. They had all been replaced. And now they were forever trapped here in a glass prison. Alex tried speaking to them, asking if there was a way out, but they remained silent. Only occasionally did their lips move, as if echoing his words. It seemed the mirror itself drained their voices. Life outside. From time to time, he saw the reflection living his life. The new Alex went to work, met colleagues, even spoke to his mother on the phone. Alex in the mirror screamed when he saw this, because he understood no one would ever guess it wasn't him. On the contrary, the new Alex appeared better, confident, charismatic, brave, loved, trusted. And the real Alex had simply vanished. The crack. One day, when the reflection left, Alex began pounding on the glass again, and suddenly he felt something new, a tiny crack under his palm. It was barely visible, like a thin thread, but it existed. Alex realized maybe there was a way out. He began hitting harder again and again. The other prisoners watched, motionless. Then he shouted, "Help! If we work together, we can get out!" Their empty eyes flickered for a moment. They moved closer to the glass, and for the first time, they placed their palms alongside his. Pressure built. The glass rang. The choice. At that moment, the reflection returned. He stopped in front of the mirror and saw the crack. His smile vanished. "You don't dare," he whispered, staring straight at Alex. "This is my life." Alex roared, "It was mine!" He struck again. The crack widened, and for the first time, he felt the cold air from the real world touch his skin. But then the reflection pressed from the other side. His strength was terrifying. The glass began to seal again. The other figures retreated into the darkness. Only Alex remained alone. The mirror swap. The last thing he saw were his own eyes, or rather the eyes of the one who was now him. "You will never return," the reflection said quietly. "You will stay here forever." The light went out. The crack vanished. Alex fell to his knees. His hands trembled. He understood he had lost. But time passed. The new master of the apartment lived a happy life. He no longer feared the mirror. On the contrary, he sometimes gazed into his reflection for a long time, admiring himself. Yet occasionally, for just a brief moment, he felt something was off. Shadows flickered deep in the mirror, and when he walked away, it seemed to him that his reflection smiled slightly wider than he did. And then he felt something strange, as if he was no longer the one looking into the mirror, but the mirror was looking at him.